Come on in, come close. King Enochus, make sure you get a good spot. Okay, so here's the photos you were all asking about. 10 years on the road will get you some memories. So it all began when me and my crew were heading home from Troy to Ithaca, and we decided to quickly raid Ismarus. Unfortunately, we got a little greedy and ended up getting routed by the Kikones, and Zeus was not happy about our plundering. So as a result, he did this to us. That blew us all the way to the land of the Lotus Eaters. Now that was an experience. They had this food and drink made of lotuses, but it had this weird dragging effect, and most of my men indulged and ended up high as a kite. Luckily, I managed to get some of them to their senses, managed to load the rest onto the ship until the effects of the drug wore off. After sailing away from there, we arrived at the land of the Cyclops and found this cave stacked with foods and all sorts of supplies we needed. Unfortunately, it also hosted this guy, the Cyclops Polyphemus, who trapped us in with a massive boulder. Luckily, I had a cunning plan. Unluckily, he already ate 2 of my men before I could execute it. I told the Cyclops my name was Nobody, and then my men and I blinded him in the night. He cried out, "Nobody's hurt me," which of course confused a lot of the other Cyclopses, but didn't arouse too much suspicion. Later on, when he was letting his sheep out, we managed to sneak out by hanging onto the sheep. You can just see me there. So we escaped from there and managed to come across Aeolus, the wind god. He was really great. He even captured the bad winds for us and gave them to me in this bag. We managed to come within sighting distance of Greece, but my idiotic crew thought that the bag held treasures and they opened it, blowing us all the way back to Aeolus, who wanted nothing to do with us after that blunder. We then came across what looked like a nice enough island. Little did we know it was home to the Laostrygonians, a race of cannibalistic giants who ambushed us when we arrived on the island, and they destroyed all the boats except my own, which, as you can see, did not end well. We just managed to escape and travelled to Aea, where we met the lovely Circe. That's her there. We thought everything was travelling smoothly until my crew started disappearing, and the number of pigs on the island was strangely increasing. Didn't take a genius to figure out that she was actually a witch and turning my men into pigs. That's my deckhand right there. Luckily, being the devilishly handsome man I am, I managed to seduce her and get the spell reversed. Circe even told us where our next stop was, but I was not such a huge fan to hear it. Our next stop was the underworld. But I met plenty of interesting people down there. Here's one of me and the great Achilles, although he was a little bit of a sad sack, and they do tell you never to meet your heroes. Anyway, I also saw my mum again, I saw Agamemnon, I saw Minos judging people, and I ran into the strange seer Tiresias. He told me some interesting things, like the rest of my journey was going to suck and that I'd have to fight off some suitors who are after my wife back home. Anyway, he, maybe she, gave me some directions and we headed off. We just managed to sail past the Sirens, whose song lured a few of my men like this guy, but we managed to resist by tying ourselves to the boat and putting wax in our ears, and sailed onwards, right into the path of Scylla, the 6-headed monster. I was forced to choose between facing that monster or sailing through the big whirlpool there, and chose the monster. Better to lose a few men than a whole ship. We then arrived on Helios's island and found that there were lots of cows everywhere. Well, as you can imagine, me and my men, we were hungry, and some of them couldn't help themselves, and despite the warnings not to, they ate a few of those cows, and they turned out to be sacred cows. Well, Zeus was not happy with this at all, and the moment we set off from the island, he sent this mighty storm that destroyed our boats, killed all the men but me, and washed me ashore on Calypso's island. Now, I won't go into what exactly went down on that island, and I won't say that I didn't enjoy myself, but I just couldn't wait to get home. Thankfully, Athena convinced the gods and Calypso to finally release me after 7 years, and so once again I set off. And would you believe it, but once again one of the gods, this time Poseidon, wasn't happy. Something about blinding his son Polyphemus, I don't know. And so he sent yet another storm, which shipwrecked me right here on Phaeacia. So that's all the pics. Now, does anyone want to give me a lift home?